Welcome to Lost on Ice, the show about the show 20 years later. Today, we're talking about Season 2, Episodes 17 and 18. I'm Will. Also here, as always, is Ben, and you can watch full episodes of the podcast on YouTube. Ben and I also release a bonus hangout show every week that can be found at patreon.com/Dr. Skeleton. Ben, here we are, Season 2, Episode 17. I think it's time to face the facts. Michael Emerson rules.
Yeah, I was waiting to see how long it would take you to realize that because yeah, I guess I don't want to say too much, but he's a well-liked part of the show, and you didn't have a very it didn't seem like you had a very strong reaction to me saying that he was an Iowa guy last week.
I think it's really cool. I think it's just taken me a little bit to sink in how much, especially now that we've watched a few more episodes, but like how much of this season's most interesting stuff hinges on his performance. And it is like if he's if he fails at that, the whole season kind of collapses around itself. But he's absolutely nailing it. Like he's got me eating out of the palm of his hand. Like every time he's on screen, depending on what he wants to be doing in that moment, I either like totally believe what he's saying and or I'm terrified of his every move. And I gotta say, he's just got that Cedar Rapids it factor, baby. That's show business for you.
Yeah. Yeah. He is maybe the most offensive thing I'll say to our TV show listeners. He's a film actor in a TV show with a bunch of TV actors, which that's not a fact. I'm just saying he registers that way to me. It's like seeing, you know, uh, uh, Robert De Niro. I don't know. I don't really know.
Frantically Googling actors
Oh,
2024.
I was trying to
Reddit.
think of something that made sense, but I guess I was just struggling for an actor.
I'm sorry it didn't work out.
Film actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true. His look is great too. Like we talked about how like there's a lot of people in this show that are kind of like, I don't know if this is a good reference or not, but like essential casting, network TV look, right? Like there's
Yeah.
a little bit of a lot of people, but like it's really exciting when like uh someone from the exotic land of Iowa can show up and have just to bring a little bit of a different skull shape to the party.
He looks like a guy that's been on an island who crash landed on an island, which I appreciate too, because sometimes you forget that these guys fell out of a plane, and most people are pretty much looking unscathed at this point. Michael Emerson is like bruised to the point of being like he's got like the yellow and blue bruises going on, which I
that's
appreciate.
Saeed beat his ass.
Yeah, but I like
it's not like island life.
No, I know, but it still fits better. Like I know that that's how he got it, but I'm like, damn. I know you probably didn't like taking a bunch of punches to the face, but you are looking like you belong here, my friend.
I've got good news and bad news.
Yeah.
Good news is you're gonna look like you fit right in. Bad news is we're gonna beat your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got like cool big eyes, and like I don't mean to say this as like he looks weird, but like there's just like kind of a genericness to like Jack, especially. Like no offense to
Matthew Fox.
Matthew Fox, yeah. And I gotta say I am hotter on Jack lately now.
Okay.
But warmer on him, whatever.
Sure.
Don't pause me too early in the show. But like, yeah, Michael Emerson, like there's something around there's almost like a force field. And keep in mind, listeners, if you're not familiar, I haven't seen the show, so I'm just kind of wilding out with my takes. But um, there's almost like a force field that surrounds the survivors, like the main group of survivors, that just for some reason there's this almost like mindset or attitude or something about uh there's not a real like huge sense of urgency for a lot of them. There's some of it's sort of like, oh, this is a TV show, so like they can't just like spend the whole time talking about like mundane logistics or anything. Um, but occasionally you will get a character who will like interact with these people, and it'll prompt you to think about how um what would happen, what would it be like if there were people on this island, or like if you lived on this island for a long time, you're truly cut off from society, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that uh Michael Emerson's character Henry Gale, scare quotes, is a good example of how that can be, how that could like, I don't know how we got there. I don't know how long he's been there or anything, but um he has like, I don't know, some sort of like with fanaticism about him, some like there's some like realistic like human edge to his character that is like, I don't know, really helping the show right now. I think it's made me become a lot more interested in what's going on with Lost, and yeah, him being from where I'm podcasting from right now is just all the better. I love it.
Sure. He's from your house, your bedroom.
He's around here somewhere. I can't believe it's never come up in any of our conversations over dinner. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
All right.
I still gotta say,
Sorry.
every time a guy like him shows up, I'm sitting in my tent on the in the sand and saying like, "Guys, are you sure? Are you sure we're not on like a populated island? Like, you sure there's not just a town over there? Seems like that we got a lot of
Yeah.
guys here. Maybe we
Have you seen
should
Swiss
walk
Army
around."
Man?
No.
Okay, I think that's kind of like how that movie ends. I guess spoiler alert for Swiss Army Man, but it's like deserted island a little bit, and like all this like resourcefulness and creativity to try to survive in all of this, and then and like,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
uh all the psychedelic stuff that happens in that movie. And then they just kind of like at the end like walk into like a suburb at the end, like they were just like a mile away from civilization the entire
Oh,
time.
okay. Nice. Yeah.
uh
Kind of a village situation, it sounds like too. Spoilers for The Village as well.
for some reason I got so much like more upset about you spoiling The Village than Swiss Army Man,
Well, you
which came
spoiled
out 10 years
Swiss Army
later.
Man, but yeah,
I did spoil that. I'm calling myself out. I'm calling myself in. I'm holding myself accountable right now.
sure.
Um but yeah, something like that.
Okay.
All right, let's jump into it. Let's talk about season 2, episode 17, Lockdown. And I gotta say, just by the name of this episode itself, I was worried that the episode was gonna like take down my boy Locke. They were gonna take Locke down, ruin his standing in my eyes. It's like, please don't, just leave him alone. He's the man. Don't ruin anything. But I think he mostly escapes unscathed. So in flashbacks, Locke is preparing to propose to his girlfriend Helen at a picnic. However, while he's preparing the lunch, she notices Locke's father's name in the obituaries. Famous actor Anthony Cooper or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, they make a weird deal about her reading the obituaries that I feel like didn't need to be made from a writing perspective. You could just be reading the newspaper and happen to read the obituaries, but Locke is like, "I'll read the funny pages, you can read the obituaries," and she's like, "I sure do love reading the obituaries," and then
yeah, she's like, it's the
reads
best
them.
part of the paper. People always say something. Nobody ever
Nice.
says anything bad about
Yeah.
you when you're dead, or they'll always say something nice about you. He's like, and here I was thinking the funnies were the best part of the paper,
Yeah.
and I don't know. That could be kind of a way of thinking. I can't read. Nothing is immediately jumping out as like thematic or anything. But there was this second funny moment there where like they make a big deal about her reading the obituaries, and then she like looks up at him and she's like, what was your dad's name? Was it Anthony Cooper? And he's like, why? Like, it's clear, like, obviously, he just died. There's an obituary there.
We've established that
Yeah.
she is reading the obituaries.
Yes. Maybe he was name checked in an obituary. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyways, they postpone their picnic to attend the funeral. No one else is there except two men standing in the distance. And oh man, I would love to be a mysterious goon lurking at a funeral. That's probably my calling in life. And just heads down, nefariously lurking. Uh, there's also a silver Mercedes with a driver who glares at Locke through the funeral far away. At the conclusion of the service, Locke stands next to the coffin and says, I forgive you.
Hmm. No, well, listeners, Wikipedia man says silver Mercedes, so maybe that's something to remember.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't have any idea if that's something to remember. I can't remember. But thank
I mean,
thank you,
it
Wikipedia
doesn't matter
man.
if it's a make and model. We just see the car again later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later, I mean, and also, the signifiers of what a Mercedes might mean. Silver meaning second
Yeah,
place.
with
This goes
silver,
deep.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Later, it is revealed that Locke has opened his own business inspecting homes. After checking the home of Nadia, he sees the same silver car near his house. Are we supposed to recognize Nadia? Sorry, why is she name checked here?
Say Brian Porter, Nadia, they're all
Yeah,
coming back.
this is driving me nuts. There's also been a lot of like spelling errors that I've corrected on Wikipedia here. I realize I should just be like doing this myself, but there's only so much I'm gonna do for,
Yeah.
for this until y'all get those Patreon numbers up. And so after checking the home of Nadia, he sees the same silver car near his house and finds that it is his father driving it, who faked his own death to escape from the two men who are trying to kill him because of a retirement con. It's very funny that like Locke is like going about his work and his dad is involved in some like truly insane caper, just like the craziest shit of all time.
Yeah. His dad is like a good scummy dad character, like gangster on the side type thing, except not a gangster, like a casino raider, but he's not raiding Las Vegas casinos. He's raiding like Reno, Nevada casinos or something.
Yeah, I mean like straight up doing like well, it says retirement con. We don't know what the con is, but like taking people's pensions or something, probably
Yeah,
some shit like
which is
that.
really funny, like with the bad, because like the drivers of the Mercedes or whatever, the two guys that are after him,
The goons.
like they're played up as like rough guys, like kind of like bad guys, right? Bad guys to from our perspective of people sympathetic to Locke himself, but like yeah, I guess they're
They could be
probably
like
very
the
good.
SEC or
They could
something.
be the SEC. They could also just like you could see them as like real Robin Hood type characters. It's not quite the right poll, but like they're young-ish guys looking up for
Robert
these
De Niro characters.
looking out for these I guess retirees who have got scammed, most
Sure.
likely.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not exactly like
Um
they're not even like, drug dealer is a usual pull, right? Whereas like you can just kind of generally get behind the vibe of like, well, I don't like those guys either. I don't like anybody on any side of this deal, but like those guys are probably defending the retirees, so I kind of should be siding with them.
we haven't seen them do anything wrong, really, at all. Like
No.
they lurk, which is it's okay to lurk. Lurking is legal. It's my new platform that I'm running for president on. But also like I guess they sort of they do a little bit of like leering and they wear like gold chains. And so I think that's how we're supposed to see
Yeah.
them as
They
bad.
ask tough questions. They don't do the, PR friendly questions. They ask What's
Yeah.
in the one more thing? What's in the bag? That kind of stuff.
Hmm. But they don't menace anybody like physically or yeah.
No.
But okay, so Locke's dad wants Locke to go to the bank to get the money for him from a safety deposit box and keep $200,000 as payment. And Locke does that. After collecting the money, Locke returns home and encounters the two men from the funeral who question him about the validity of his father's death and search his work bag. And as nicely as they asked, maybe it wasn't the nicest, and it was there was like an air of tension in the air, that's for sure. But I would simply not allow them to look in my bag, even though it was, revealed that he didn't have the money in his bag at the time. I don't care. I'm just not
Mm.
gonna let you look in my bag like that.
Mm. Folks, if you ever get the chance, ask Will what's in his bag then. Sounds like you got something
I'm
to
gonna,
hide. You got some embarrassing stuff in your bag.
I'm gonna ask you. This is what I would do. I'd be like, get out of my house. No, I'm not telling you. I'm not showing you what's in my bag. You should be a little. You should have played up the little indignant factor a little bit. I guess we sort of see this when he was interacting with Duncan. That he's like maybe not the best liar in the world, and he maybe folds in like high tension situations, even if like or like when it requires a little bit of infidelity. That's the wrong word, but misdirection. Um, if not outright
Yeah.
lying.
Yeah.
So when Helen asks Locke about the situation, he lies, saying that he has not seen his father. While meeting up with his father at the motel, Locke tells his father that he is planning on marrying Helen. However, when Locke leaves, he sees Helen has followed him and she is hurt by his lies. She breaks up with Locke, accusing him of choosing his father's love over hers. Locke gets down on one knee and proposes, an incredible save that almost always works. It's surprising that this didn't work in this moment.
Do you
It's like, I know you're mad at me, babe, but do you want to get
do
married?
you know anyone who's pulled that off in real life? I feel like that's a very common
To
movie thing, but tough to imagine it.
to like get out of being in trouble by proposing?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
No.
Or just like the whole idea of like fumbling your entire relationship on the 1 yard line again, you know?
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Pretty crazy.
you got to time it better.
Yeah. You should kind of know what's going on. Or at least, yeah, just let it cool over. Let her
Hmm.
whatever.
We saw this last episode, or maybe it was the episode before, but Jen was like, a baby would change things to Son.
Yeah.
Back in the flashback, same type of vibe. Like, if we just get married, this would be different. Yeah.
That's like okay. I'm not endorsing that way line of thinking the baby thing either, but I feel like the marriage thing is like it's actually beyond the a baby would change things. That's like pulling a baby out of your pocket and being like, I've already secured us a baby.
I already got
I
one.
got a baby.
Secured this baby. Nice.
Yeah.
Securing the diaper bag. Uh, Helen shakes her head and drives away, leaving Locke to stare at his father getting to a taxi cab to leave as well. So yeah, he's got people taking off on him. On the island, Henry Gale, or, you know, Henry Gale, tries to convince Locke and a suspicious Jack that he was making a bad joke about leading Saeed's group into a trap. And once again, like, I'm still suspicious, but it kind of works on me. I'd be like, you got me a little bit. They did. I will say they wrote and and Emerson performed very well this episode. Like for the things that we maybe knocked the show on, like the writing of Henry Gale is really good, where they're successfully doing like the yo-yo to episode. Like he's either like he's evil or he's completely misunderstood. Um, he's either playing them or being played the whole time, and it's a tough one it's a tough needle to thread to like to go back and forth like that. But I think they really pulled it off. I'm really enjoy how
Yeah.
it all went down. Okay, but after arguing with Locke about what to do next, Jack storms off, leaving Locke to put Henry back in the armory. Reaching the beach, Jack sees Kate, Hurley, and Sawyer playing poker with Dharma Initiative playing cards. Okay, I I have this problem in like a future episode as well, and I've had it in past episodes too. But remember 2 nights ago, like Sawyer was like firing guns at them, right? Like
Yeah.
why is anybody hanging out with Sawyer, and why does Sawyer think that he's hangoutable at this point? That I don't know. That pisses me off a little bit.
Yeah, I know you don't like that, but I feel like I don't know, it might work that way. Maybe you just treat everybody like shit and then they play cards with you the next day, you know? You are stuck on an island. What else are you gonna do?
Maybe I mean it goes back to that like force field thing I was talking about. How like yeah, all the survivors just kind of they're all kind of a little bit NPC bit or something.
Yeah.
It's just like
Very easy for them to
okay,
reset. You just kinda
yeah,
leave the zone and then return, and
yeah,
then
and your
everybody's
stars
back.
go back to zero.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
So after showing that he knows a lot about how to play, Jack challenges Sawyer to a game to win back the medicine that Sawyer has been hoarding. Jack wins and says that he will collect the medicine later. And I gotta say, this is going a very long way to rehabilitating Jack's image in my mind. Uh, there's nothing cooler to me than being good at poker.
Yeah.
So it's just like sick if you can just like I don't know bluff someone out or like whatever.
Yeah.
This
It doesn't
gets me every time.
It's very out of character for Jack too, I think,
Yes.
because he's kind of a blueser and a baby
Yeah,
about
he's a bit of a
things,
dweeb. He's a dweeb and a weenie, like you said.
and
Yeah,
you shouldn't be
he
good at gambling if you're like that, you
yeah
know?
yeah. How are you good at gambling when you have zero swag?
Yeah, exactly.
But he's got it.
Not a good liar in other situations either. Wears
Hot headed.
yes, wears his emotions on his sleeve more than anyone else in the
Hmm.
entire world. Yes.
We saw that he sucks at golfing too, like another with like doctor activity or whatever. This is very interesting. Okay, so the things that Jack is good at, he's actually very good at like the surgery part of being a doctor. He's like good at the medicine part.
Yeah.
I think that we've seen that.
Bad at the bedside
The
manner.
bad at the bedside manner, but good at the medicine. I think that there's something to be learned about this. I don't have it quite there yet. But the fact that like I think there's something to the fact that he's not that good at golf, but has clearly golfed before and like has golfed. Like he's not. There's something about that line that Christian tells him in an earlier episode that's like, you can't cross that line or something. There's something about like he's in that world but not truly a part of it or something. I don't know. Like if he really had it in him, he could cheat on his wife, no problem, and it'd be fine.
Mm.
Or like uh get tanked and cut people open for a living. But like the fact that he's got this like he's really good at gambling is a very interesting wrinkle. It's not just that he's a nerd.
Though, I don't know, there's a
Interesting
lot
guy.
of nerds that get into gambling, you know? Not me.
But not in like a movie way. But that's true. You're right.
Kind of.
Maybe him.
I mean, it's because, it's like dumbass MIT guys or whatever get into it now. So, I don't know, but I don't think that's Jack.
I don't think so. He's not doing card counting.
No.
He's not doing probabilities. Yeah, he's doing, which I think that would have been a bad move on the writer's part to like make it about like how like I think they've made a good interesting choice of this character to make it that like he actually has like the stuff when it comes to like bluffing or something. He just kind of has a beat on people in that way.
I guess, yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, so in the hatch, while pedaling on the stationary bike, Locke hears static noise coming from the speakers throughout the hatch, even though there are still 47 minutes left on the timer. Seconds later, a female voice counts down from 10, and the blast doors begin to shut when she reaches 0. But Locke wedges one open with a crowbar, and there's like a 0% chance you could actually budge those doors, right? Like,
Yeah.
Come on.
Those are, yeah, rough. Respect the hustle of Locke and the place of mind of Locke thinking to jam the little crowbar in, but no, not happening.
Can I bring up a minor quibble that I have with you as a human being? That you
Sure.
say you've been saying place of mind over the course of these episodes. That's not a phrase, dude.
What's the phrase that
It's
I'm looking for?
presence of mind.
Presence of mind. Okay, that's better. Yeah. I've been saying place of mind at work to a bunch of people too.
Yeah. I mean, I get what
Presence
you're
of
saying.
mind.
There yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Hmm.
Uh Locke then enlists then enlists Henry Gale's help to further open the doors, forcing one up a couple of feet and then sliding a toolbox underneath to prop it open. And then in a huge tactical error, Locke tries to slide through the gap without further reinforcing it. And then the door crushes the toolbox and his legs.
Very hasty move. Gotta say.
Yeah.
Whatever you think or imagine about Henry right now, if I'm in Henry's position, I'm like, what the fuck is going on at this place?
Seriously.
Come on, my dude.
Yeah.
You This is such an obvious situation right now. It's gonna crush on you. We're in a TV show right now. On top of it all, we're in a TV show.
Or even just put something else under there too. Like spend 30 seconds looking
Look
around for
around.
something. Yeah.
And also very funny that he did legs first. I would not do legs first. That's like a very, you know, TV show thing to do. I feel like everybody you would go head first,
You go
right?
head
I would
first.
go head first.
I think you're right that's the right call. But I think I would go legs first because I don't know, it'd be easier, wouldn't it?
I don't think so. I think it'd be easier
I
to
think I'd
go
even go
head first.
sideways too. I don't think I'd go like feet first. I think I'd lay down and sort of almost try to like roll through it so
That's
there's
true.
like less of me underneath the door ever.
Well, but see, I'd be making sure that door is secured before I do anything.
Well,
But it
yeah.
just seems more natural to, yes, like you said, either roll sideways or kind of sideways or go head first. But like
How
feet first is just
you guys
weird.
swimming through it?
Feet first and belly up is weird.
I could see yourself sort of swing yourself through it though. You could maybe get through kind of faster if you do it feet first, belly up.
I don't know.
You like pull yourself through with like a curl on the wall.
Yeah, but that's weird
Versus like how are you
once
like
you get your shoulders
slithering
under,
through on your belly?
easy. Do you sleep on your back or on your stomach? This could be
On my
part of it.
back.
I sleep on my stomach. Maybe that's why I have more
Face down?
belly skill. Face down.
Do you have your head off to the side or is it
My head off to the side? No. Wait, what do
You
you mean?
do face into the pillow?
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. I turn my head like 40,
Okay.
45 degrees.
Okay.
I'm not like
You don't
belly flop.
Do you require oxygen to survive?
Yeah, it's not not nose perpendicular to the
Yeah.
pillow. Yeah.
No, I sleep on my back.
Yeah. Okay, no. I'm on my stomach. I feel more comfortable on my stomach.
Okay.
I could do more, wiggle around better like that.
Well, listeners, you do that with that information that you will. You can ask me to look at my back and you ask Ben to get on his belly and slither around. One of the metal poles on the underside of the door impales John's leg, trapping him under the door. Real gruesome.
Yeah. The island giveth, the island taketh, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
until Jack shows up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's on everybody's mind. Is like, is he going to be
Paralyzed again.
losing those legs?
Yeah.
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 Since the timer is still counting down, Locke tells Henry how to get into the computer room through the vents to input the numbers. Henry agrees to the mission on the condition that Locke will protect him from the other survivors. I feel like Henry could have like also gone underneath the door at that point. Or, like
Yeah.
you could further leverage the door
He's
up.
a smaller guy than Locke, too.
He's a
He's
smaller
thinner.
guy.
I mean, it's coming down pretty
Mhm.
far. Oh, that would be a good kind of Seinfeld-esque episode if he goes under and then, it crushes down a little bit more, and then Jack shows up, like, 3 hours later, and it's just 2 guys. Half of the 2 guys with their legs, like, kicking around, their toes, like, Wicked Witch of the West or whatever style from The Wizard of Oz.
That'd be very good. Yes. Um,
Everyone on the island, all of the survivors take turns getting stuck until they're all just stuck under the door, and the island itself has to intervene with some magic, like, "Okay, we gotta move this show along. Stop
yeah.
being stuck under the
Didn't
door."
think you guys would screw this up like this, but all right. Something I thought was interesting is that Henry knew the numbers instantly. Um, he Locke tells him the numbers, and Henry just like is immediately able to rattle them off back to him,
Yeah.
which is like could be TV logic where people are just like really good at remembering stuff, but I suspect that he already knew those numbers.
I am also, though, surprised by anybody who remembers the numbers because, again, I've seen the entire show minus the last episode and now all of these episodes so far again, and I can't remember what the first number is, or the second, third, fourth, or
Really?
fifth. Is it 4?
Yeah.
Okay, I think
It's
it's
4,
4. Wait,
8, 15.
no.
Sorry.
4, 7, 8, 15. I was gonna say 14, but I know they go up, so it's not that. 14, 15, 32, 42.
No,
Okay, what is it?
I knew them.
What is it?
It's 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
23, 42. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew there were 2 that were in a row. I knew there was a 2 as a digit, but
Yep.
whatever. Okay.
It was some combination of the digits 0 through 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
While Henry is gone, the timer begins to beep rapidly, signaling the beginning of the 1 minute countdown. And then the alarm sounds. There's a whirring noise, similar to the jet engine like sound in one of them, and the lights go out. Seconds later, a black light comes on, and for exactly 30 seconds, I guess I wasn't timing, but Wikipedia man was, a diagram is revealed on the blast door that Locke is trapped underneath. It's only shown briefly before the ordinary lights turn back on. The blast doors retract to their normal positions. Now, I couldn't make heads or tails of what was on that door, and I don't know if I was supposed to recognize what was going on there, but I definitely didn't.
I genuinely can't remember where this leads, so I'm gonna give you my guess, I guess. It's kinda looks like a map in my mind, but like a it's not clear what's the map, you know? There seem to be, like,
Some
things,
circles.
like,
Um,
maybe possibly other, uh, shacks. What the fuck is this thing called that they're in
like
right now?
hatches,
Hatches.
stations.
Stations, hatches,
Yeah.
you know? That's the vibe
Okay.
that I got from it. I don't think I'm revealing anything because, again, I can't remember where this goes, but yeah.
Okay.
I think I had, I had, like, the
Yeah.
Dharma thing, I think, logo.
Yeah. I kind of believe anything at this point about that, but I do think that. Oh, interesting. Now, okay. So this isn't prompted by anything that you said, but here's my theory on it, really quick. Okay. So, well, okay, I'm just gonna say it now. We're gonna talk about it in the next episode. The next episode to talk about in this podcast. So I'm not flubbing anything too much. Um, my theory about this, someone says something about along the lines of like when they discover like the care package that drops, that like the blast doors came down. Someone suggests the blast doors came down to prevent anybody who was in the station from going out to see
Yep.
the thing. And so this is my theory about what's going on with the hatch diagram, is that at some point somebody who was in the hatch determined that I think I think there are inspections of the facilities by Dharma Initiative, I'm guessing. and that they couldn't leave clues to anybody else about what's actually going on, or else they would be discovered by the Dharma Initiative people and something would happen. But they knew that there is one time that the Dharma Initiative are certainly not around, and that is when supply drop is happening because the blast doors come down. The whole point is that they're inside and they're outside. And so they drew information relating to what's going on in um black light liquid or whatever, like
Yeah.
bioluminescent
Can you guys add some
ink.
bioluminescent ink to our next drop, please?
Yeah,
No comment on what we're gonna do with it, but add
yeah.
that to the shopping
Uh,
list.
so that like that's safe from any prying eyes and only visible when they know that they're the only ones who could possibly see it. That's my theory.
Interesting. That's a good theory. What prevents the people from just standing on the other side of the blast door in your theory, when the Dharma people,
When
or
the
even in the character's theory of like, you know, if you're curious, you're a little curious cat, why don't you just, you hear the little countdown thing going, go to the other side,
Go on the inside of it.
go on the outside of it, other side of the blast door.
Well, the blasters are meant to keep them in. So,
Well, I,
oh, why wouldn't they go on
if
the
you were
outside?
curious, why
Yeah,
wouldn't you just go to the other side of the blast door before it goes down?
I think that there's something to do with the announcement that we couldn't hear in this. That's like uh radiation or something. I don't know. Something like danger, danger.
Sure.
Take cover, take cover. I don't know. Henry steps out of the computer room and says that he did what Locke asked him to do, i.e., enter the numbers. On the beach, Kate sees a flashing light in the jungle, and when she and Jack investigate, they find an enormous package of food attached to a parachute. They're joined by Saeed, Ana Lucia, and Charlie, who have returned from their expedition. Entering the hatch, Jack grabs Henry off of the injured Locke, though Locke tries to defend Henry, saying that he was helping him after the blast doors came down. Saeed confirms that they found the balloon and the grave, which were exactly where Henry said that they were. However, Saeed adds that he was still skeptical as to the validity of Henry's story, so he dug up the grave to verify it was his wife's and found a man's body instead, which held the photo ID of a black man named Henry Gale. This
Very
confirms that Henry is not who he says he is.
ice cold of Saeed to do that, I gotta say.
Yeah, kind of nuts, because we also see them like discover, like, okay, there's the balloon. Everything is exactly as they said it was. And I guess he's just gonna dig up that
Yeah.
body, dude.
I don't know why. I don't
Not a really rational.
I'm a big fan of imagining things, and this is not something that I imagined in the show. But when I saw that, when Saeed brings this up, digging it up, the real life analog in my mind, for some reason, was going to another country, for example, Vietnam, and going to like a memorial or a mausoleum or whatever for a famous person, for example, Ho Chi Minh, and then just being like, damn, I doubt it. Let's dig this shit. Let's dig this shit up. And digging up Ho Chi Minh specifically for some reason. But yeah, I don't
Am I
know.
missing something
No, I don't know.
about
I
the
don't really
connection
know.
to Ho Chi Minh here?
I was
Okay.
hoping that maybe you could help me figure that one out, but it was just like it was the
Okay,
first thing that
I
came
think
to
you should probably
mind.
start from a place of reverence, because in case you're wrong, this is gonna look really bad.
What do you mean?
So that,
Do you think you
if
don't
you're
think
wrong
that
about
he
your theory
exists?
of about the bodies in there, then you're gonna look really like disrespectful when you dig up the correct body. And so
Oh
you
yeah.
just gotta extra. Even if you do doubt it, you gotta like give yourself another like 30% of weight of like against your theory that it's not real.
Sure. But I guess what I'm getting at is Saeed is similarly, you know, you could have a little bit more. You have a little bit more trust on that one.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
same way
I
I have
think
trust
that's
when I
right.
go to Vietnam, and I went to the Ho Chi
Are you
Minh Memorial.
suggesting that that's not what's going on at the memorial?
No, I believe in Ho Chi
Okay.
Minh. I'm not even aware of any. It'd be all. It would be very funny, and I'd be more embarrassed if I found out that there are conspiracy theories that Ho Chi Minh is
Right.
not real. He was sort of a Santa Claus figure or something. Uh, but I don't think that's a thing.
Again, for anybody suggesting that we, like, script this podcast, how do we get to Ho Chi Minh as Santa Claus?
I don't know.
Alright, I'm gonna give this episode a 4 out of 5. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, same.
Michael Emerson kicks ass.
4.
Yeah. Okay, this episode is brought to you by us. Thanks for listening to the podcast. It's a lot of work to put these together, so if you'd like to support us, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel and checking us out on Patreon. Let's talk about season 2, episode 18, Ben. This one's called Dave. So, we'll get into this a little bit later, but Wikipedia says here that this episode addresses a fan theory
Yes.
that considers the events of the series to be hallucinations or
I
dreams.
was aware of this, and I do think it is a good strategy, and I wish that other even though I don't watch much TV, I wish other TV shows did this as well. Maybe they do, and I just need to watch TV.
Matthew McConaughey turned his camera and says, "I'm not the Yellow King.
Yeah.
It's not me, baby." He's Elvis for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get flashbacks. This is a Hurley flashback episode. Hurley is in a mental institution where he is friends with Dave, who tells Hurley to ignore the doctors, avoid his medication, and try to escape. Kind of indicates that Hurley picked up saying dude from Dave.
Yeah, I guess so.
One day, Hurley's doctor, Dr. Brooks, proves to Hurley that Dave is not real. Dave's not here. By taking a photo of the two and then showing Hurley that Dave is not in the picture.
Mm. Doesn't work.
Later that night,
Never works. I feel like that's a common thing nowadays, right? Like QAnon people and whatnot. Like, you can't tell them that it's fake. They'll never back out of it then.
oh yeah, you could just say Photoshop to a lot of things
Yeah.
over the years. Now it's AI. Dave would be saying that's they've generative AI'd me
Me.
away. Hmm.
A good little ruse by the doctor.
Mm-hmm. Later that night, Dave wakes Hurley up to escape with him from the institute, suggesting that the photo was doctored. Dave hops out of a window, but Hurley confronts him and declares that Dave is not real and shuts the window on him before going back to bed. A later flashback reveals that during the moment Dr. Brooks took the picture of Hurley and Dave, another patient was staring at Hurley from across the room, Libby, which explains why Hurley had this faint recognition of Libby while on the island.
Mm. Libby's been
Pretty wild.
has Libby been pretending to be a clinical psychologist? Is she a crazy clinical psychologist? Are all of those things, in fact, the same thing?
Do you think she well, I guess. I don't know what it certainly is like a bit sinister to imagine like what that like if Libby does in fact recognize Hurley from this and she's like hiding it from him this whole time,
Hmm.
that seems sinister to me. But if maybe she truly maybe she was like she was like out of it in the flashbacks. I don't know if
Yeah.
like she was aware of that and it was just a coincidence, but it does make it's a little like, ooh, what's going on here?
Yeah. Wait, sorry.
On the
Wait,
island.
wait, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Do I know I've already done it once, but I want people to imagine with me one more thing. Imagine if it was Saeed instead. I think that'd be I had a fun time imagining that.
If who is cited?
Libby, imagine if Saeed
Oh,
was also at the mental hospital and Saeed had imagined for himself a fake life of being a uh, uh, in the Republican Guard in Iraq. At that
Oh,
point,
gotcha.
you kinda just gotta hand it to him, you know? I don't know that Libby's done anything that deserves it yet, but, like, Saeed's done enough. So, I don't care if you were in a yeah, I guess that's crazy if you were in the Republican Guard or whatever, or that you weren't in it, but you can do all this shit. Awesome. You get credit for that, whatever. We're not gonna revoke your pass. I don't know if Libby's done
Yeah, you've
anything
been
yet,
kind of
though.
handling yourself pretty well
Pretty
here.
well, yeah. They should hire
Yeah.
that's one of those it's like the guy in New York, that, like, would hijack the subways or whatever sometimes and just, like,
And do a really
drive
good
it and do a
job.
good
Yeah.
job, and they'd be on time.
Yeah.
It's like, you should just make that guy a conductor, you know?
Yeah. Like in the same way that like uh Anna Lucia technically didn't do a false flag operation last episode, but we should treat her as if she did
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
Yeah. Hurley confesses to Libby that he has an eating disorder and shows her a stash of Dharma food. Hurley expresses interest in getting rid of the eating disorder, and she encourages him to do so. Or wait, getting rid of the food.
Yep,
Okay, I misplaced it. Poor Hurley. As far as 2006 goes, this is probably technically a more sensitive depiction of an eating disorder,
probably.
but
It's weird that I don't know why they go back to I mean, this is not the most important part. Why are they always having him just like eat ranch out of a gallon tub? You know, that's like the go-to food that they
yeah.
display him with, which is very gross. But like, also, I can't imagine it's that common. I guess I don't know who's doing that. I don't think people are doing that.
I mean, maybe they are, but the thing is that, I mean, that was the part of the discomfort that I kind of had with some of this was like making it really like grotesque
Yeah,
and this, kind of like being fat is a moral failure thing going on,
yeah,
and
yeah,
um, like you didn't need to d- degrade him like that, like. Or and there's this idea like so like fat people are just like eating peanut butter off of leaves like that,
yeah.
just like licking it off. I think,
And I mean that
oh
he's another person you've called out Sawyer so many times, but I feel like they've done it more with Hurley of like he is both a guy who has solved his problem and not solved his problem whenever it's kind of convenient to the story where like I guess it's similar to the Charlie thing too where like they do the whole thing about him like struggling to keep track of the food or whatever, not wanting to do it. Then he has this big gesture of he's just like, I just want to give it to everybody and we'll have one good night and then we don't have to worry about it
yep.
anymore. And I'm not going to steal any of the food. And, I'm going to do the honorable thing. And then it's like 15 episodes later. Yeah, he had a stash.
Oh, I
He had a
guess he
stash
was.
the
Yep.
entire time of ranch
Yep.
and
Guess he
peanut
was a
butter.
liar.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Glad we wasted all that time. Yeah. Um. So yeah, just after Hurley destroys his supplies, other survivors go into the jungle. Following them, Hurley and Libby see that an enormous package of food parachuted from the sky. After Hurley panics at the suggestion of again being in charge of the supplies, he sees Dave and tries to follow him as he goes into the jungle. And yeah, I think maybe at this point someone suggested the blast doors come down to prevent anyone from seeing the supply drop,
Yep.
but I don't know.
Yep.
After Hurley loses Dave's trail twice, he asks Sawyer for medicine to fight the hallucinations he believes he's been having. After mocking Hurley, Sawyer is brutally attacked by him and his tent ruined. And man, Sawyer really has this coming. And I got this whole thing about how Hurley's the only one who treats Sawyer like rationally or like responds to him like a normal human. So like, I've talked about like in season one, uh, before like Sawyer had like his like villain turn a few episodes ago. Like he's like off putting and like rude, I guess. But like Jack will approach him just like with insane energy, like out of nowhere and just be like especially as anytime they need anything from Sawyer, their first instinct is go to the least effective route of getting it and just to be like, "Hey, dickhead, give me the thing I want." And so he's immediately gonna be like, "No, fuck off." But like Hurley will just treat Sawyer and be like, "Hey, man, how's it going?" Um, the way that you normally would be, and then when the time Sawyer is being a dick, everyone else is kind of like, well, he's got all the guns now, and what what can you do? And Hurley beats his ass. Like that's the
Yeah.
like it's the Hurley's the only rat. He's as much as the people's as he's right to say he's right to get upset when people call him crazy because he's the only one being sane when it comes to this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hurley decides to leave the beach and go to the caves. On the way, Dave reappears and tells Hurley that everything that has happened since the night of the escape attempt has been a fantasy. That after Dave escaped, Hurley went into a catatonic state and has imagined everything since then. Okay, and so here's where I'm going to interject this little note that I saw on Wikipedia. ABC was concerned about the content of the episode, arguing that the idea that the story could all be in Hurley's head was offering an explanation for the whole series, since a recurring theory among the fandom was that the events of the series were hallucinations.
Yep.
Um,
I think that's the point, right?
yeah, this makes it kind of sound like this episode would specifically concern them. I think this is this episode addressing that.
Yeah.
Like, so they should be like happy about the episode of the content of this episode, not concerned about it. But whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it definitely does because I think it's like we started off with, I like I think it's a good idea when you get an annoying fan theory like that going on, especially online nowadays. Like, just stomp on it. If it's a stupid one, if it's a Reddit guy fan theory, just stomp on it. Try again.
I think that this is probably one of the more interesting things about Lost. I'm guessing and I wish like maybe at some point we should talk to somebody who like was like super into it at the time and could verify like what it was like to be online with it because I'm of two minds about that. Like I totally like what you're saying makes total sense, and I think that this show could be a really good example, depending on what it was
Mm.
like. I don't know of like this sort of like long form storytelling in episodic installments that is interactive to that extent, like with fans, addressing fans, or at least considering fan input. And kind of our way into the series, though, it's like sort of a second prong, though. Um, we talked a lot about J.J. Abrams. We talked about Star Wars a lot. We did our Star Wars episodes and how the downfall of Star Wars is, or the downfall of Star Wars. I sound like one of these guys, but a big mistake that anyone who gets involved with Star Wars makes is capitulating to the fans, and we see that we just saw that this week, where like people were mad that Star Wars is woke, so they canceled their show too. Like anytime that you actually that you get involved with like dealing with the fans on your show is a mistake. And so like that like I don't know. I'm kind of in the camp of that like the only like right way to deal with fans is to like with outright contempt for like franchise IP or something like this.
Mm.
Um, I think that probably does need some nuance. I've read interviews with Damon Lindelof about The Leftovers, where he seems to be a very active, or at least like he like read a criticism of Leftovers that was coming out, and I mean that like reviews by TV critics and things like that, and like make he would incorporate. He wouldn't take like, hey, they should do this or they shouldn't do that, but he would like sort of respond thematically or metaphorically to sometimes things he would say and things. Like there's
Mm.
a really interesting interview with Matt Zoller Seitz, I think, that guy, with him and Damon Lindelof, where like the critic whoever it was wrote a really powerful review of a very powerful episode of The Leftovers of season 1, and then in season 3, Damon Lindelof uh, made an episode that was kind of like sort of like a response then to that piece of writing, and then they talked about it in an interview,
Mm.
and I thought that was really interesting too. So like I'm sure there's there's room in it. I think generally, I mean, this is making it so much clearer that like The Leftovers is such an interesting evolution of Damon Lindelof's work, and like I don't know, I think it's so far like way more successful. I mean, I guess you're younger, you have like less power over the network. That like I want to give him all the credit possible because like he's made some of my absolute favorite stuff ever. That like maybe it was just ABC, uh, you know running things too much or something. When I have problems with this, or just the fact that you have to stretch this into 24 episodes this season. Um, I'm getting my point a little away here, but I guess interacting with the fans on your TV show can cut both ways. I think it can be powerful, and it also can be like if you're doing it scared, if you're doing it, but it works in this episode specifically too. It's effective now because like now I am thinking now like okay, that's not what it is, and that's even more fun a little bit too if you just keep a whole bunch of like let's just keep foreclosing on all of these different theories or like these different ways that could possibly work out. That in a way heightens how this actually works
Mm.
out in the end, which is a very I love that about mysteries. I'm almost always disappointed by the ends of mysteries. And I'm always having the most fun in the middle of it with my brain going nuts, thinking I'm my tiny little brain because I never think of anything actually clever, but like all the fun things that it could possibly end up
Yeah.
being. And then once it's finally resolved, it's kind of like, eh. But what if it was a million things at
Yeah.
the same time?
Folks, let us know your theories about this podcast. What's going on?
Well, let us know. Write into drskeletonsartschool@gmail.com. And yeah, I mean, Lindelof loves writing people who are simultaneously who are there and are not there. It's all over The Leftovers. It's fun in this episode where like Dave is getting like hitting Hurley with his slippers. Yeah. So, as proof of his existence, Dave points out the appearances of the numbers said by another patient, Leonard, in both Hurley's winning lottery ticket and the Hatch computer number sequence. Dave takes Hurley to a cliff and tells him to jump and get out of his dream before jumping off himself. Before Hurley can decide whether or not to follow Dave, Libby finds him. Hurley states to her that he believes that everything happening to him is not real and is only a comatose dream, including her. But Libby convinces him otherwise, in part by kissing him.
I I don't know if the kiss convinced him. I thought her it's not the most solid reasoning, but it's a pretty good little aha, whatever. Regardless, her reasoning or whatever to him was like basically, do you know about this thing that happened a while ago? And he's like, no. And she's like, well, it's because it happened to me and you didn't
Mm-hmm.
imagine it or whatever. It's not the most solid thinking, but it's a good one. I feel like that comes up in like the Matrix or like Inception or movies like that as well.
Well, it's very reminiscent of like intro to metaphysics, like thought experiment type stuff. When you talk about like who the great deceiver is and things like that, and like what a knowledge is gained and things like that. I think, and which I think clearly writers of this are interested in these questions. And like yeah, like it's philosophy and thought experiments, and like on that sort of like first step is can be very individual centric, and then like Descartes being like it's just me here, but then if someone else is like, but do you know about this other thing happened, like his whole thing falls apart, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. So in the hatch, Saeed and Ana Lucia interrogate Henry Gale. After Henry's new cover-up story is proved false, Henry finally admits that he is indeed another, but he says he would be killed if he talks. He like talks about, he says that like there's this higher authority, like this man or something, like he would be furious or something like that. Later, Locke confronts the prisoner, demanding to know if he let himself be caught, thinking it might have been to find the swan.
Does he name him
And
in this episode? I know he names him eventually. I just
I don't know what you're talking about, so no.
okay.
To me, he's still Henry.
No. The man you're talking about.
Oh,
That
no.
Henry says this man would kill me. Okay.
No.
It might be a coming up very soon one. Okay.
Okay.
We'll leave that then.
Yeah. Yeah, Locke wants to go talk to Henry, and Ana Lucia's like, no, I don't think you should do that. And Locke says, with all due respect, Ana Lucia, I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
Locke again with the got her ass moment of the episode.
Yeah.
Henry, however, calls the hatch a joke, saying that during the lockdown, he never entered the numbers into the computer or pushed the buttons. He simply stood there and watched the timer's numbers turn into red hieroglyphs before they reset back on their own. Locke, however, replies that Henry is lying. But Henry says that he's done lying. They have a really good exchange here where, Locke is trying to, like, get him to say, like, tell me what's going on. God knows how long we've been down here. And Henry, like, is, like, affronted by that. Because he kind of says that as like a little figure of speech. But Henry says, like, God doesn't know how long we've been here. Like, if this is like a forsaken land, is how I kind of read that.
Yeah.
Like, this is a place not touched by God. So overall in this episode, we get a lot to think about. This was a great episode. Again, every time Michael Emerson, I believe him. I'm like, let's hear him out. He has interesting things to say. At some point we see Echo and Charlie building something. They don't say it, but they're obviously building a church. Dorks, but at least it keeps Charlie from kidnapping babies. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. And that's kind of low because I really like a lot of this episode, but the stuff around Hurley's like backstory a little bit didn't sit quite well with me. So 3.
Yeah, same. It's a 3 for me. I like the addressing the what if this whole show is just in Hurley's mind fan theory. I appreciate that. It's a little boring. The Dave stuff specifically, I'm not so into, but the
It's not super compelling. Yeah.
the bigger picture, I like that. And then getting back into the hatch, cool too.
Yeah. Yeah. It could have been worse. That we could have had like 10 episodes of Dave lurking and like and then this is the reveal here. It's like that's kind of the good thing about, I guess, network television writing is that like you'd be expedient with your plot lines, wrap that up, knock one out.
I guess, yeah. I guess that cuts both ways too often.
Yeah,
but
it does. Yeah. Well, that's going to be it for the show today. If you like the show and want to hear more from Ben and I, consider joining our Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/Dr. Skeleton, Dr. Skeleton. For those who don't know, Dr. Skeleton is the umbrella corporation that Ben and I do all of our creative work underneath. So you can write into the show at drskeletonsartschool@gmail.com. And next week, you're going to want to watch Season 2, Episodes 19 and 20. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.